is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we're discussing The Groomsmen Second Chance is currently streaming on Hallmark Plus. When you're not watching Hallmark, hang out with us. You can find us in a lot of places. We are on Instagram. Girls Gone Hallmark is, of course, our Hallmark-specific account, and we are also Megan and Wendy over there.
We also have a great Facebook group. Come join us there. It's Girls Gone Hallmark on Facebook.
Lots of thoughts on this series of movies. We'd love to hear yours. If you want to send them to us specifically, you can email us your thoughts on these movies, on the podcast, on the things we get wrong, like it was not a Philly cheesesteak. It was, in fact, a hoagie.
I knew it wasn't a Philly cheesesteak.
I understand.
It did not look like one.
The conversation they had apparently clarified it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was too fixated on the sandwich not being a Philly cheesesteak and not listening to the dialogue.
You can email us and let us know what you think. girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com.
I like a hoagie.
Me too.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
I know.
Bread, meat, an Italian dressing on top.
I like a good sandwich.
I like a cured meat on a carb. Are we doing Hallmark news and notes?
Oh, we're going to do Hallmark news and notes, you guys. If you have not seen the firestorm of controversy coming out of Hallmark, I'm sure you have. There are some allegations against Hallmark Media about some ageism, amongst other things. The ageism one is the one that the trades are running with. Former casting director Penny Perry, which you see her name on everything.
Yeah, she's cast some of Hallmark's biggest hits.
Biggest. I mean, did I see her? I saw her name in a movie last night. Yes. On the movie I watched last night, her name was still listed as the cast.
Interesting.
She was let go from Hallmark Media sometime this year, which kind of quietly, not that I'm on the pulse of Hallmark.
Yeah, but it wasn't on our radar. It wasn't shared by the number of people that we follow or people on our Facebook group who usually know about these things.
Right. So she was let go earlier this year, and she has since filed a lawsuit against Hallmark Media for ageism as one. According to the complaint, Penny Perry is alleging age harassment, age discrimination, disability harassment, disability discrimination, failure to accommodate or engage in the interactive process. I don't know what that means. Retaliation under FEHA. I don't know what that means either. Failure to prevent harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, wrongful termination, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and then some violation of some labor laws and unfair business practices.
Woof. All I gotta say is the timing here, given everything, all of the plate spinning in the Hallmark world, has got to be rough because I think a lot of this is directed at like the upper management, and there are a lot of people who have to deal with the blowback.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do not know where the truth lies. There's no outcome yet on this suit, whether it'll go to trial, whether they will settle, but
they are requesting a jury trial for this as well.
There are some big accusations being thrown around here.
Huge accusations. And of course, Variety, I think, broke this story. They led with the most clickbaity headline, which was basically Lacey Chabert is too old for Hallmark.
Right.
Because in the lawsuit, it alleges that there were conversations had by upper management at Hallmark Media that had said Lacey, amongst a list of other men and women, I want to clarify, men and women that were aging out at Hallmark, that the casting director needed to find some younger, fresh talent.
Yeah.
So, of course, all the conversation has been around, is Lacey Chabert too old for Hallmark.
Yeah, that's what everyone's reacting to, right? And I think a lot of the comments are like, no, your audience, Hallmark, like your audience is an older audience and they want to see themselves reflected on TV. Personally, I think a mix of storylines is called for here. And I think we're seeing a little bit more of that, much like our conversation about Linda Coe and Jonathan Bennett kind of being like the single actor in their lane.
Right.
I don't want to see Barbara Niven is another person. We talk about this a lot, right? Like, let's broaden the scope.
Yes. I think this is going to be interesting how it plays out. I imagine this is not going to go to a jury trial. Don't you think that Hallmark will settle?
Yes. I know absolutely nothing about the law, but yes.
Me neither. Get Lindsay Fonseca on this. I think it's kind of crazy. Well, first of all, I hate seeing that Penny, Perry, or anybody is dealing with like discrimination at work or not receiving accommodations that she may have needed. I will leave a link to the actual complaint if you want to read it. Read beyond the Variety article is what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
I think there's more here other than Lacey Chabert being too old for Hallmark. However, if I may, and I think you brought this up to me, I was curious that Lacey was not part of Hallmark's big kickoff to Countdown to Christmas.
Yeah, they had their multi-city event and then their New York City official red carpet, which was filled with the likes of
Nikki DeLoach, Kimberly Sestad.
Yeah, the cast of Three Wise Men, the cast of Holiday Touchdown, some of the big names. Yeah, that's curious to me. I find it curious that she's not on the cruise, but I find that less curious because Lacey's a busy actress and committing to 5 days at sea. She's also a mother who
During
may not
a very busy time of year.
may not want to take a week away from her family, or perhaps she just doesn't like boats. So I don't want to read too much into that, but I do think I find it curious that she wasn't there.
But then on the other hand, I'm like, to me, Lacey is the face of the brand. She's all over Hallmark Plus right now. She's in my freaking Hallmark store. When I go there, there's a huge cutout there. Of her. Yes. I took a picture. My husband took a picture of me
With her? Please put that on our Instagram.
It's a terrible picture. I might. But yeah, like I don't think Lacey's going anywhere. I think that her name is just mentioned in this lawsuit and the trade magazines are just running with that. So anyway, it's very interesting. I have seen some interesting conversation around all of this. Of course, this was major in our Facebook, but over on Reddit too, where you can be anonymous. There are people saying things like, now we've just said it out loud. Like, yes, these actors are too old for the network. And I don't know if I disagree with I don't know if I agree with that.
You should have seen Wendy try to actively pull those words back into her mouth.
I misspoke. I don't think I agree with that. I think Hallmark, I like what they're doing. I get their vision. They're trying to reach a younger audience.
Yeah.
Like, we understand that, right? With Hallmark Plus and
and you got 40 movies. You had an opportunity to tell lots of different stories. You have a movie every weekend. You have an opportunity to tell lots of different stories. You have a streaming platform. You have an opportunity to tell lots of different stories. And look at the Chicken Sisters. You got Wendy Malick and Leah Thompson, in the lead cast. So you have Holidays, which has a wide variety of ages. You have the Cherry Lane trilogy, again, a wide variety of ages. So we don't know where the truth lies, but that's the conversation. We encourage you to dig in for more information and keep an eye out for that. Let's switch gears. We're going to talk the Groomsmen Second Chances, and we're going to start with a synopsis.
Oh, I have some thoughts here too that is going to bleed into our. Okay, here's the synopsis. Danny finds the courage to admit his romantic feelings for his best friend when he is asked to be the best man at his wedding in Greece.
It is time for news and notes. Ron Oliver does return as director, and of course, he directed all 3 movies in the Groomsmen trilogy.
Yeah, this is a lot of repeat from last week, right? Okay, so to remind you, Rick Garman wrote the script for The Groomsmen Second Chances. He wrote the script for The Groomsmen First Look as well. We can only assume that he comes back and writes the script for the next movie in the trilogy.
Yeah, that information is currently unavailable. We'll let you know. Jonathan Bennett returns as Danny. Johnny. Jonathan has 80 acting credits and is currently one of the busiest dudes on Hallmark. He's starring in Season's Greetings from Cherry Lane, hosting Finding Mr. Christmas on Hallmark Plus, hosting both sailings of the Hallmark Christmas Cruise, and he has 3 additional projects coming up on IMDb.
Are they Hallmark projects?
As far as I can tell, do not believe them to be based on the titles.
Interesting. Tyler Hines and BJ Britt return to their roles as Jackson and Peter, respectively. Heather Hemmons also briefly appears as Chelsea. Chloe Raphael returns as daughter Betty, and Oliver Shaw makes a brief appearance as young Milo.
Alexander Lincoln plays Zach. Alexander has 22 acting credits, which include the Netflix series Geek Girl and the TV series Doctors. The Groomsmen movies are his first Hallmark projects.
Sue Kelvin plays Ophelia Papadopoulos. Sue is a stage actress with 18 acting credits, and this is her first Hallmark project.
Andreas Karras plays Konstantinos. Andreas has 24 acting credits and appears to be Hallmark's go-to Greek dude, having appeared in Love's Greek to Me and The Wedding Veil Journey. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back. We're back, and it's time for First Impressions. Wendy, what you got?
The real love story here is between me and the Greek salad. Did you see that Greek salad? It had these huge pieces of feta cheese in it. Oh my God, I wanted it so badly. I'm still dreaming about it.
My first impression is Hallmark, take note. This is how you do inclusivity, not with secondary characters, but up front, proudly, and with more than one kiss in the movie.
Totally co-sign on all of that. I have some thoughts.
I cannot wait to hear them. Shall we talk likes?
Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought I liked the first one. I liked this one more.
Yeah, me too.
But to say, I'm going to insert complaint corner here. In response to your first impression, yes, wholeheartedly agree that this is how you do inclusivity. However, sticking with a sports analogy, why did you punt it to Hallmark Plus? I'm upset about it.
Oh, sure. I agree with you. Yeah, put it on the main channel. What's happening here?
If Lacey Chabert is the face of Hallmark, I'm going to say Jonathan Bennett is probably equally a face of Hallmark, like one of the big names for Hallmark.
His face is all over the Hallmark Plus ads. All over them.
Yeah.
He's the host of the 2 Christmas cruises. Like the host.
Yeah, I know. So put a love story featuring him and a same-sex couple on the main channel.
I hear you.
There is no representation on the main channel this year.
I know they're really relying on these 3 movies to drive Hallmark Plus subscriptions.
It kind of pisses me off, to be honest.
And, you know, we're, I don't know, 7-ish movies in on the main channels, and we are seeing some representation in supporting characters. And I know that's going to be, I know we're going to hear like, but yeah, louder. Make it louder. So I agree with you. I overall really liked this movie, and I agreed when you said you liked it more. I think I liked it differently. So for me, we still get the strong friendship trio.
Yeah.
I think that's more the focus of First Look is the dudes. And I feel like Pete and Chelsea's love story, they didn't get as much time to shine in that movie. It takes a little bit of a back seat to the bromance that we have happening. That's not the case here. I think we still build on the friendship of the dudes. It's still a strong through line, but it doesn't overshadow the love story. We still got a lot of fun moments between them. They made me laugh a lot. Some continued running bits, but we get a chance for the Zach and Danny love story to really shine.
We do. And I was really drawn in by the Danny and Zach journey. Seeing them take this like literal plunge into the ocean. Don't jump, like all that, like running. I I thought that was a very powerful moment and really one that says like seize the moment, like here we are, let's do this. I like the messaging there.
I thought there were so many great things about that. The moment where they almost jump earlier in the movie, where Zach is still engaged to Nolan and Jonathan has his hand out and it looks like Zach's going to grab his hand and he kind of just pats him on the arm and the moment ends. It's such an unfinished moment. Like you feel the letdown in the way that it's staged and the fact that we come full circle on that later.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It was great. Also great. I love the vows between Danny and Zach. Honestly, in my opinion, it was Jonathan Bennett's like best work. And he says like, I didn't write any vows because I've known what to say for whatever the time frame is. I was like, that is so lovely. I just really loved it. And you talked about kisses. Did you talk about kisses?
I did.
There were some fire kisses and a lot of them in this movie. The way that I threw my hands in the air and waved them like I just didn't care when they kissed, I was so happy to see it on my screen, but then reminded, oh, it's on Hallmark Plus.
So many great iconic rom-com moments in this movie. They're confronting each other after their almost kiss, after Nolan shows up and interrupts it. And the next morning, Danny's like, we need to talk about this. And Zach's like, you can't walk away from love because of an almost. And that's so great. The other line I love is when Jonathan is discussing how his like relationship ended, Zach is asking him like, what happened? And he's like, all those like, it wasn't one big thing. It's like all those little things. You're like, I can just put that on the shelf. And the shelf eventually got too heavy. I think it's such a great way to describe like the death by 1,000 paper cuts end of a relationship.
Yeah, totally. And that's a shout out to the writer there, I think, conveying what your viewers have likely dealt with in the past. It was such a it was simply words, but it created such a great visual. Like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that feeling, right?
Can we talk a little bit more about Jonathan Bennett?
Yeah,
he's so good. And look, I know last week I'm like more than just Jonathan Bennett. That doesn't mean I don't want lots of Jonathan Bennett. Let me tell you all the great things about Jonathan Bennett. First of all, his smile when he finally kisses Zach is so good. His realization face that he gets when he realizes like, oh, I'm into this dude. Like that is amazing. He's still his fun self throughout this role, but his affection for Zach and the heartbreak that he feels when things fall apart. And as you mentioned, his vows are all so sincere.
Yeah.
He doesn't he gives equal weight to the fun and silly and the sincere and loving parts of his personality.
I think there was less silly in this one compared to the first one, which I liked because I don't like hijinks. So I appreciated the more tender moments, the more emotional moments from Jonathan Bennett in this movie. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with him where he really has to like get in touch with those kind of feelings. Like he hasn't been given the playground to play in that sort of range.
Yeah. I like the timing of this movie and I like that we rewind a little bit.
I loved that.
And it makes a lot of sense because there was a lot of Zach and Danny conversation throughout the first movie. It made sense to do it this way. And there's one great shot where they're at Hannah's wedding and we see the shot of Pete and Chelsea dancing through the doorway and it just centers us in time so well. And they do it without feeling repetitive.
Yeah, I like how they did that. I'm curious to see how that plays in to the third movie.
Oh, yeah. I suspect the third movie does not overlap in time.
I think it's going to a little bit.
You do?
Because the makeup artist that Jackson sends to Pete prior to their video call is the woman that Tyler Hines' character is involved in. So I think there's going to be some overlap there.
But then they're all going to Italy to take Betty to meet her mom and all of that.
Which
is breaking my heart.
I have complicated feelings about.
Well, like why does she get to decide that for Betty?
I don't know.
She clearly has a relationship with her dad and the mom just gets to say, you have to move here.
Yeah, I think we're assuming what's going to happen in the next movie? I don't know.
We don't know. But it bothers me preemptively because I'm like, this isn't a weekend dad. He's clearly very involved in his daughter's life.
Exactly.
So why is she being allowed to make the unilateral decision to move their daughter to Italy? Because look, if we both lived here in Chicago, there's no judge who's going to allow that to happen when you've got two
in Chicago.
Aren't they in Chicago?
Philly.
Okay, that's right. The Phillies. Jonathan's wardrobe of Phillies. We live here
Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
Yes, thank you. The next movie we're talking about today is set in Chicago. Look, we're here in Philly. I'm just saying there's no judge that's going to be like, yeah, man, take her away from a perfectly involved parent. If you want to move, fine. But then you get visitation.
Yeah.
You don't get primary custody unless Tyler's like, girl needs her mom. She can go. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll talk about it next time.
We'll see.
Any more likes?
Yeah, I have a few more. You mentioned the friendship, the bromance between the guys here. I think it's super refreshing to see like 3 dudes really kind of like open their heart and share things, be vulnerable. Because in contrast, I think a lot of the entertainment that we consume is just like toxic masculinity. And of course, I watched this movie after I watched the finale of The Chicken Sisters, where that was in full bloom there. And so it feels really nice. And I just wish that we saw more of that. I think that for someone like my husband, right, it's not like a roadmap, but it's to show that like, hey, let's normalize.
Yeah, this can be entertaining too.
Yes,
like we don't need to make the men the villain all the time.
Right.
And I'm not
Just
saying like we need to, poor men. That's not what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to see these dudes show up for each other. That scene where they roll into Greece and they're like, hope you got a good calling plan. And Tyler's like, yeah, the plane tickets weren't cheap either. Like that's such a great moment that would not even be remarkable if it were girls, right? Like that happens in the wedding veil. Those girls show up for each other all the time.
Right.
But when it happens for dudes, you're like, yes, let's do this. Let's show like it's cool for men to show up for other men.
Yeah. And yeah. Yes. Agree. Hey, can we talk about Alexander Lincoln as Zach? He's a real snack. I love his like dry, charming humor, and it plays off Jonathan Bennett's. I hope he continues on Hallmark. I doubt he will, just because like there's not usually a huge opportunity for like English actors. Unless
we got Will Kemp with an American accent.
True. Hey, if Alexander Lincoln can do an American accent.
Also, he can have a British accent. Sometimes people just have accents.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. But like, think of all the movies. Like,
I know.
We got a bunch of English actors in a movie this year because they did all that Jane Austen stuff earlier this year. So I just don't, maybe.
Like Tom Holland has a British accent. Dude plays Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I get it. I would like to see more.
You know, I think to your point about Alexander Lincoln, they had an opportunity to make him really one note here, and he's not much like Jonathan Bennett. We see they allow him to have a personality beyond just his job and his role. Okay, let's talk wishes.
I still have some likes.
Oh my god!
You just want to move right on.
I do.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe your favorite movie is My Best Friend's Wedding.
I could quote the entire thing. You want to watch it with me? You don't. I promise.
That's funny. To me, this movie was like My Best Friend's Wedding.
You know, you sent that text to me and I was like 100.
How did you not see it?
Well, I think the difference is in My Best Friend's Wedding, there's no rooting for Julia Roberts' character.
She's the worst.
She's the absolute
villain.
Worst.
Yeah.
And so I think they took that trope and they made Danny's character like, look, I'm in love with you. I'm realizing that now. I would really love for you to choose me, but I'm not going to have the pick me, choose me love moment. I'm not going to try and sabotage your relationship by putting your fiance in these horrifying situations.
He did a little bit, though.
He didn't make him sing karaoke.
The rock climbing.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But then that's where the dudes come in and we get what we should have had as the George character finally comes in and like holds Jules's character a little bit in line. The dudes step in a little bit earlier, and I think BJ Britt's character is like, "Yo, bro, you can't. This
Does he
is
say,
not
"Yo,
cool." That's how men talk to each other in my head. He gives him like, "This is not really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing
Yeah.
here?" So they shut that down a little bit earlier.
I like that they did that.
And they were like, "You either need to be here for him or not."
2 more things. Greece. Hello, I want to go. Everything from food to the architecture is beautiful. I'm so glad that they like shot on location there. Stunning. I want to go. Don't you want to go?
I want to go. I was actually just thinking, I'm like, maybe if you like this cruise, we'll get you on a Greek Isles cruise.
I'm into it.
Okay.
I'm into it. The last thing, I do love the through line of the runaway bride telling the story.
Yeah.
It does bring a lot of intrigue.
Sure.
So I have some notes in my Did You See That?
Me too.
Specifically about that. Now we can move on to wishes.
Gosh. All right. I have a question.
Yeah.
It's a throwaway line. Oh, that's why Pete moved to Bulgaria part-time. What the heck does that mean? He didn't move to Bulgaria if he's there part-time. What are you talking about?
Is he working in Bulgaria?
They
with his
just
wife?
throw it away. And they're like, oh, Pete moved to Bulgaria part-time. What? I just wrote, WTF does that mean in my notes?
How do you be a part-time doctor? I don't know. These are good questions and ones that are not relevant to the storyline.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, there are far too many baseball references in this movie. Megan even texted me. She's like, "What is Jonathan Bennett's job?" And
Is he like a batting coach? It seems like it with a number of how much time he spends in a batting cage.
yes. However, I was listening to our friends at Deck the Hallmark this morning.
Yeah.
And somebody clarified that he is a former pitcher.
Well, I knew he used to play. They make a comment like,
Why is the pitcher the batting coach now? Wouldn't he be a pitching coach if he was a former best
if he's
MLB
a
pitcher?
National League player, he probably had to bat too. Maybe he's the Shohei Ohtani of the fake Phillies.
Perhaps. Dude, did you see he like ripped his like rotator cuff or some shit like
He
that? And
subluxated his.
he is still planning to play the rest of the series? Okay, Dr. Megan.
That's because that's what I did to my knee when I was in high school.
And you still played soccer?
Yes, because I was the star of the team. They couldn't live without me. No, look,
Ohtani's like, I'm going to play till I'm dead. Take me off the field in an ambulance.
Shohei Ohtani is a special player. I just love him. Can you imagine? Hold on. Inside Baseball with Megan and Wendy.
And I hate baseball, guys. So
Look, Shohei started his major league career on the Angels. They're bad.
and Megan's favorite team.
Look, you got to be loyal. They're my lifelong favorites.
I hear you.
I was there when they won the World Series.
22nd anniversary of them winning the World Series.
Yes, that's right. But I just felt so bad for him because I was like, you got this standout baseball player on a team that's never going to win a damn thing. And I had mixed feelings when he left, but I was happy for him, right? Mm-hmm. He's on the Dodgers. The Dodgers freaking love him. He breaks all these records this year. He's like there's never been a player like him in baseball. And he's like the nicest guy in the world. And then to get injured in game 2 of the World Series, your first year on the team, you're finally on a team that's going to win a championship.
Your first World Series, yeah, right?
Yes. And to get injured, he's like, hell no, man. I'll go out there with ice strapped to my shoulder, bat,
coach.
put me in, coach. He can't pitch. He can't pitch because he had Tommy John surgery. So,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, that's why he's not pitching this season.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, he broke that combined home run stolen base record.
Are people just tapping through this section here? I think it's funny. I like talking baseball with you. Megan's a super fan.
I would not consider myself a super fan, but I get fired up about certain things. I like baseball.
If I can mention something here.
It's your podcast.
I know a former Major League Baseball player.
You do?
Yeah, you
No,
I do.
I'm not questioning you. I'm like,
I've never once heard this man make a baseball reference in my entire life.
interesting.
And so to hear like Jonathan Bennett's character be like, and the crowd goes wild. I'm like, nope, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Never going to happen. It would be like us talking
I was
about,
just trying to figure out what the equivalent is for you and I.
I don't know, talking about podcasting. I don't, it's like my husband talking about counting. He doesn't do that. It just doesn't happen.
It's true.
It's not your whole personality.
I hear you. I hear you.
So for me, the baseball analogies in this movie were too much. I think they lean too hard into it.
Hey, I feel like I should take issue with Zach and Nolan's breakup and the fact that like Jonathan Bennett is actively in love with Zach. But here's why I don't. One, Nolan's the worst, and he never attempts to not be terrible. Like I'll be there for our wedding, and then he does every single time his job, and I understand, but at some point you need to be like, yo, this is my wedding.
This is our wedding.
I just mean to like your business.
Yeah.
At some point, everyone is replaceable. I don't actually think Zach has done anything wrong. Like he's not like dating Danny. He's not falling for Danny. Like he still seems to be pretty committed to making his relationship with Nolan work. So look, I'm allowed to be a hypocrite, but the proposal. Is the proposal still on the table? Is perhaps the absolute worst way to start an engagement. Nolan called and said, is the proposal still on the table? Like terrible. It's a business deal?
Yeah.
Nope. I'd be like, sorry.
Yeah. You don't want to be second choice, no?
No, you don't. If you had to think about it, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, because I know in previous movie reviews, you really hate if like a man and a woman were growing closer together.
Yeah, that's my whole point here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're not bothered by it though in this movie?
No, for the reasons that I stated, and also because sometimes I get to be a hypocrite. But yeah, but Nolan sucks.
Okay. I don't disagree with you.
Let's hear some wishes from you.
That I gave you. Too many baseballs.
Too many baseballs.
That's it.
Got it. You ready for Did You See That?
I am.
Okay, the opening scene where they have the dudes standing outside the bar talking to the bar owner. That's not the dudes.
That is not our guys.
I was like, come on. The voiceover, so bad.
Terrible. Clearly not our actors. I was wondering here, though.
Yeah, are these like future dudes?
Yeah, like, are these supposed to be like our guys in current time?
I know, but it's their voices. That's the part that's confusing to me. Like, it's definitely at least a couple of their voices, I think.
I was just like so shocked. I was like, that is not the back of their...
It is not the back of their heads.
Nope.
Yeah. Also, did you watch this movie with closed captioning?
Of course, always.
On Hallmark Plus, at one point, the runaway bride is speaking, and it captions her. It says, like, Elizabeth, and her lines. And I was like, Betty is short for Elizabeth.
Oh, it is Betty.
I feel pretty strongly that it is. But look, I've been wrong before about many things.
That is so funny. So I did message Ryan M. Murphy, who is a producer on this movie. And I was like, because he had posted a picture of like the runaway bride. And I was like, is this supposed to be Betty? And his response was the emoji guy with his hands in the air.
Shrugging emoji, yeah.
Yeah. If that's Betty, let's talk this through here. If this is Betty, she looks nothing like the young actress who plays Betty. Like, her eyes are so blue. They're like your eyes. They're like piercing light blue eyes, right?
I hadn't clocked her eyes.
I don't think young Betty's eyes look like that.
They have different hair.
Their hair is completely different. They just look totally different. Now, look, did I look totally different from my 14-year-old self as I do now? Yeah, sort of. So...
Look, I got married when I was 25, and I would look like I'm about 14 years old. Like, people saw my wedding photos who didn't know me when I got married, and they're like, oh, look, it's your husband and his child bride. Like, until I turned 30, I looked very young.
Oh, interesting.
I think now I look my age. Like, I have one final, did you see that?
Okay.
It's so little. But the weights in the jam are measured in kilograms. Did you notice?
I did not notice, but it was clocked on DTH. So I.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I just assume it's a sign of the fact that they were filming this in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so they were using a European gym.
That's funny. That is funny, though. I would be like, I don't know. Can you do that? Like,
all the time I spend in a gym, I have absolutely no idea how. Oh, you're saying like you don't know the conversion?
Yeah, I don't know. No. But I mean, I guess you can tell by the weight. Like, you're like,
is it too heavy?
Is it a 5-pounder or is it a 50-pounder? And I can't tell.
Also, Google exists.
Yeah, this is true. One of my big did you see that is Danny's sister is not at his own wedding.
Well,
she should be there.
No, I know, but
she is not there.
Isn't she also not one of the bridesmaids in Chelsea's wedding? Which is weird.
not more weird than not being at your brother's wedding.
Yeah, they didn't have the budget to fly her to Greece, apparently.
Apparently so. They're like, you get Bulgaria. That's it. Not Greece. Maybe that's why we have those weird 3 body doubles. No, because our guys would have been in Greece. I don't know. Maybe they shot that somewhere.
Yeah, maybe
totally
they had
different.
that idea later and they weren't there.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird though. I only have one more. Did you see that? And it's back to the food.
Okay.
Food is constantly running through my mind. They sat down. I think they're doing like a taste testing, maybe.
Uh-huh.
It was like all this Greek food. I just wanted to eat it all.
The food did look good.
Zach's okay. This is always like a how do you pronounce gyro?
Gyro.
Gyro. Me too. Same. Zach pronounced it
Gyro.
Yeah. Which I thought it was funny. I thought like maybe like the Greek lady would have like corrected him. I mean, because he did correct somebody about boutonnieres.
Oh, uh-huh.
But yeah, I was like, no, it's not gyro. I love a gyro. Okay, I'm hungry. Can you tell?
What did you rate this movie?
I gave it 4.5 stars.
I have 4.25 stars. I thought it was great.
I thought it was good.
Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. If you love this podcast, you know what to do. Leave it a 5-star rating or review in that podcast app that you're listening in right this minute. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.